Thanks for joining our quarterly Oracle integration webcast. I'm Jürgen Kress, part of the product management team. In case you missed one of our webcasts, on-demand recordings are available. For details, please see our quarterly newsletter and subscribe to our Video Hub channel. In today's presentation, we would like to welcome Ravi Pinto and Niall Commiskey. Good morning, good afternoon.
Hello there, Jürgen. Hi, Ravi.
So,
Hi,
Niall,
Jürgen. Hi,
hi,
Niall.
hi, Ravi, hi, Niall. Niall, why are you spending your public holiday with us?
Because we've got so many interesting things to cover. I
So I
said
will,
it's worth it. So that just shows our dedication, Jürgen.
indeed, and I will treat you with nice pizza. The dough is already ready.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, then it's all worth it.
Ravi, what about you? What are you going to present?
Oh, I'm actually going to do a demo of a new feature. So while Neil is going to show a lot of features, I'll show one feature, which is push the OIC project to GitHub. And I think that is going to be pretty interesting.
Cool. So a lot of exciting new stuff, a lot of looking forward stuff, and I think I will include the NDA slide.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so SaaS services like ERP, HCM, and CX need to be connected. Oracle integration offers certified adapters for pre-built connectivity. Objective of today's call is to update you on the latest new features and to also look a little bit in the forward-coming functionality. Quick housekeeping, please ask your questions via the Q&A tool. All links are available via the resource page. There you can also see the upcoming trainings and events, and the slides, including the recording, will be available at Oracle Video Hub. Please pay attention to the Oracle Safe Harbor statement. And for today's agenda, we will start with a short introduction. I will update you on the latest resources, and then we will jump into the new features of the current release, drill down a little bit into a live demo. We all know that Niall is one of our best presenters for demos, and we will give you some sneak preview into the upcoming autumn release, and there you will see a lot of functionality and buzz about artificial intelligence. If you have questions, we will answer them during the call and also at the end of the webcast. So some quick updates. Oracle integration is part of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure free trial program. You can build, test, and deploy Oracle integration and connect your applications. The trial is valid for 30 days. You can go to oracle.com/tryit. If you use a free trial and want to build a proof of concept or demo, please make use of the live labs. The live labs are part of the documentation, and they are on-demand trainings which helps you to build your first connections. If you would like to work with certified experts, search for system integrators like Accenture, Capgemini, or all the other local partners which are certified. You can find them at partnerfinder.oracle.com. And at Cloud Marketplace, you can find third-party adapters from other partners, or you can publish your own adapter or recipe. If you have questions, if you need to support or want to collaborate, please use Oracle Cloud Customer Connect. In discussion forums, you can share your knowledge, engage with our experts, and submit your innovations, and you can earn some nice badges. All updates and news are part of our quarterly newsletter. We just distributed the spring edition. Please subscribe to the newsletter, and you can look up the latest edition and share also your success stories. Today's webcast is recorded, and we will publish it at Oracle Video Hub, so please subscribe for the on-demand recording. With that short introduction, over to you, Niall.
Thank you, Jürgen. I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Can you see my screen? I'll just go into presenter mode here.
Yep.
Okay, and I think this usual thing here is switch. Hold on a second. Is that better now?
That's good.
That's perfect. Well, welcome everybody. So the focus today is on the new features with 2506 release. And as Jürgen mentioned there's an awful lot of AI stuff in here. You may have seen our What's New blog post about 2506, and I've created a couple of blog posts myself on this. So without further ado, let's go in and see what's happening there. Just again, emphasizing, Oracle integration is your business automation platform, and showing you, what components we actually do have there. The bread and butter component, okay, connecting and integrating apps. but also the ability to automate workflow with human in the loop, RPA, B2B for automating trading partner document exchanges, decision automation with our rules, which are now part of projects. And of course, AI document processing is just sitting there as an example of the OCI AI services we can now leverage from OIC. We have conversational assistant there, which is technically integrated, but is commercially a separate offering. And of course, low code applications with Visual Builder. And of course, all powered by the pre-built connectivity, our rich set of adapters. And of course, we have our rapid adapter builder, which you can use to build your own adapters in a declarative manner. And of course, we ship with a large selection of pre-built solutions, recipes, business accelerators, which are upgrade secure. So, and of course, we are the best for Oracle SaaS, as Jürgen always says. But of course, we work with apps in the cloud, technologies in the cloud, or on-premise. We're also, of course, very, very strong with integrating third-party SaaS and, of course, multi-cloud support. Okay, now, the way our roadmap is organized, just going through this again, that you see what's driving our engineering effort. Okay, developer productivity. Now, this is extremely important. Making you developers more productive with OIC. Now, that could include UI enhancements, but of course, also leveraging AI in a co-pilot mode, which we will see today. Operational excellence. Runtime availability, scalability, performance, observability, both within OIC and, for example, using OCI services such as logging analytics, and of course, Oracle Managed DR. Healthcare. Now, this mightn't be that interesting for everybody, but we are the platform for healthcare integration and business process automation. Business automation. Providing a rich set of components for building automated business processes. So this just goes back to the previous slide where we're saying OIC, not just integration, there's processing there for human-centric workflows. We've also got our decisions, our business rules. We've also got B2B, RPA, etc. And of course, what we're working at through our roadmap here is making sure all of these components are integrated with each other, all available through the unit of the project, and all available to be deployed as part of a project. Connectivity and accelerators, making it as easy as possible for you to connect your different apps and technologies. And then going forward, we're going to be looking at things like throttling those connections. In other words, if you're connecting to a third-party app and that third-party app isn't as fast as it could be or whatever, giving you the ability within OIC to throttle requests to that third-party app. Also, dynamic connections, which we introduced a couple of releases ago for FTP adapter, seeing which other adapters could profit from that. And of course, providing a rich set of extensible out-of-the-box solutions. These are the accelerators to which I alluded to earlier. And of course, when you log into OIC on your homepage, you see a list of all of these guys, these accelerators and recipes. And with one mouse click, you can start using any of those. And then finally, artificial intelligence, bringing AI innovation to Oracle integration. So there's different aspects to this. One is in the design time, i.e. the co-pilot, which we'll be looking at today. And of course, the whole area of AI-driven workflows and agentic AI. Agentic AI, of course, is something that's on everybody's lips at the moment. We're making all of that a reality within OIC. And over the next couple of releases, you will be amazed to see what we will be doing in that very space. So the way our roadmap works is, of course, we have the plan of record, what are we going to be releasing in this release and the next release? And then, of course, further down the road, it's the midterm roadmap, the plan of intent, and then strategic stuff is in the plan of direction. And of course, we have these bi-monthly releases. So we're at 2506. The dev wave or the dev shape upgrade started on the 17th of June. And I already see that some of mine have been upgraded. Expect the production upgrades to happen 2 weeks later. So the highlights of the two previous releases. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these, but I just want to to visualize now how much stuff is actually being released every month or every 2 months with OIC. So within productivity, we'll see, I'll call out some of the main ones for me, like the file server events. The ability to have an integration kicked off by a file arriving in the OIC file server, or a file being deleted from the OIC file server. Generating auto retry actions and integrations. Now, this was something that was really a great value add in, I think it was the 2504 release. The ability per mouse click to click and invoke and say, okay, generate the retry actions, a retry action scenario for this particular invoke. So it generated all of the actions that you required, that are required to implement such, and all you had to do was go in and just specify how many retries and what is the timeout between retries. Other things to look at there, of course, the ability to invoke process from OIC Canvas. This was a Gen 2 parity thing, of course. We can see some of the AI stuff that we got already, the AI generated iCal expressions. For those folks who don't feel comfortable in coding iCal expressions, just use natural language. We generate it for you thanks to AI. AI generated project descriptions, also integration descriptions. Now, this is something that generates a line of business style description of the integration or the project. Going forward, we'll be doing a lot more in that space, and I'll talk about that later. Of course, a plethora of new adapters like RabbitMQ, Asana, you can read them all here, Databricks, and so on. And of course, enhancements to existing adapters as well. So this is very important, that the two strands that we have within that, creating new adapters and enhancing existing adapters. Within healthcare, okay, FHIR is a protocol used within the healthcare space. We're doing an awful lot of that in that space as well. I won't go into that in detail, as I don't think you're the target audience for that, but just to let you know, if you do have customers, or if you do yourselves have needs of integrating with clinical apps or whatever, we have the technology to support that. Business automation, we see the project support for decisions. And as I mentioned earlier, the whole idea is to make all of our components available within the context of a project, and of course to be deployable as a project unit. So your project unit of deployment could include integrations, decisions, robotic process automations, etc. We also see here operational excellence. Yes, a small change, but that was very appreciated by customers, is the new banner identifying the OIC instance type, whether it's a dev shape or a production shape, because some customers did make mistakes in updating, say, an integration in the prod environment when they should have been doing this in the dev environment. And so that was a small change, but it was something that really helped folks. And of course, the whole area of concurrent service limits. Currently, we are showing your concurrent service processing limits for sync requests and async requests in the OIC observability screen. And we will be augmenting that going forward, not just showing the limit, but showing how close you are over to the limit over a certain period of time. And of course, these limits are driven by the number of message packs you have assigned to your OIC instance. So if you see that you are being constrained by the lack of concurrency there, you can just up the number of message packs and you get more resources there. Within AI, okay, we see the description generation, which I just discussed, document understanding native actions. So within OIC, or say within OCI, we have AI services such as document understanding for parsing documents, telling us what type of document it is, and extracting the key or salient fields from that document. We've also got AI speech, which we've got language. We also have vision, and we have Gen AI, and we've Gen AI agents. All of those components can be used today, or could be accessed previously from OIC via the REST adapter. However, with this release, we are providing you native actions for this. So making it very simple for you to leverage such functionality in your business processes or integrations. So we see AI generated iCal expressions, all of those things there. Okay, doke. So the plan of record. So this is, okay, what are we bringing out in 2506? And a little bit beyond as well. So we're going to be looking at a great new feature, AI-driven integration generation. Now, this is the first release, or the MVP, you could say, of this functionality. It'll allow us to generate a integration skeleton using natural language. And you can well imagine that with future releases, we will be augmenting what we actually generate. So from release to release, expect to see new features or new functionality coming within that. We see the native actions that I'll be going through later for Gen AI native action, the language native action, vision, Gen AI agent native action, the speech native action. Also a huge benefit for customers here is AI-driven user-friendly error messages. Now, often it is the case, the error messages that you get in OIC, unless you're working with the tool day in, day out, and exhaustively generating errors, some of these errors could be rather cryptic. So the whole idea here is, instead of you having to try and wrestle with that cryptic error message, we will generate a user-friendly version of that error message, which should, of course, point you to the problem area much more quickly. File server system events here, of course, this is, again, allowing integrations, etc., to be triggered by the arrival of a file on your file server, and so on. Now, within productivity, like going forward, the whole area of agentic AI support within OIC. Now, this is something that will be worked on over the next couple of releases. So expect to see an awful lot happening in this space. I won't be going into detail here in this webcast, but this is really an exciting area we're working on here. Of course, within projects, we want to be able to share all of the artifacts between projects. So we can share integrations at the moment, we can share connections, etc. But going forward, we'll be able to share lookups between projects, libraries between projects. We will also be providing a test UI for subscribe integration. So we have the OIC events. And of course, the easiest way to test it nowadays is to, create a publish event integration and then create a subscribe event integration, and to make sure everything is working. But we'll be providing a tester there to make it even easier for you. We will also be increasing the service limits for OIC projects. Now, this is something that, when we look at OIC projects, we think, okay, it's an ideal container for all of the integration artifacts you require for a discrete use case or set of use cases. Now, we always considered, okay, we're not going to have hundreds of integrations in there and so on. The whole idea we thought was, okay, customers will use this in such a way that, it'll be more manageable or more granular. But we have some customers who have asked for these limits to be increased. So like the current limit of 100 integrations within a project will be up to 200. We will be upping the other limits as well. And again, this will make it much easier for some folks who are maybe migrating from packages from OIC Gen 2 to OIC project. So connectivity and pre-build. So the new adapters in 2506. We've an OpenAI adapter, which I'll be demoing later, SharePoint adapter, Oanda exchange rates adapter, something I know nothing about. The NetSuite adapter has been enhanced, and there's the Kafka adapter is now supporting Amazon MSK. Within healthcare, you see that we have mainly, again, this FHIR support, profile support there, resource, allowing you to create your own custom resource definitions, etc. But one thing I would call out here is the HL7 FIFO message processing. Now, HL7 is a document format for the healthcare space. For example, HL7 document type A01, I think, would be a patient admission. Another document type might be patient registration, etc., or request blood tests and all of that sort of stuff. And what we'll be bringing in with the healthcare edition of OIC is for HL7 adapter, the ability to implement strict FIFO message processing. Now, this makes great sense, of course, for those sort of situations where you have multiple messages for the same patient. For example, you don't want to send a patient for a blood test unless that patient has been admitted and that patient has been registered, for example. So this is where that FIFO comes in. But going forward, we will be looking at expanding that for other adapters, maybe for the Fusion ERP adapters. So it'd be good to have your feedback on that, where you see, hey, that FIFO, first in, first out processing would be applicable. You know, which adapters would be of interest for you? So please let us know. With file server, okay, we're going to be having the runtime audit log, including support for OCI logging. So to know exactly who's doing what with files in OIC file server, and file server native action support for file server system events. So this is just augmenting what we've already released with the file server system events. So with business automation like B2B, we can schedule trading partner downtime. We've also got the AS4 transport for support for pulling outbound messages. We've also got some billing changes, which I will be discussing later on as well. And of course, the agentic AI support. This is the strategic goal over the next couple of releases. In respect of operational excellence, and this is something Ravi will be talking about, is the ability to push projects to GitHub. Now, before it was a case we were saying, for CI/CD or whatever, you have the factory APIs from OIC, customer, go do it yourself. But now we are providing this ability to push to GitHub, and that's something that Ravi will be demonstrating later. You will see here service limits, ability to override the max duration for integration flows. Now, these are the sort of things, again, that we would love your feedback on. You know, at the moment we have max 5 minutes for synchronous flows and up to 6 hours for async flows. Now, there could be some situations where customers say, that 6 hours is not enough. I need 10 hours. So it would be interesting to get your feedback on that, whether you think that's something that's could be applied to you as well. Now, the corollary could also be true that you have some situations where you say 6 hours is too much. I only want that async job to run for an hour at the very most. So again, appreciate your feedback on that. File server, increasing the storage limits, like the 500 gig is a lot, but it's not that much. So we're going to be looking at how we can increase that for you. Another thing that's close to my heart is the ability to push activity stream logs directly to OCI logging analytics. Now, as maybe some of you do know, I've done an awful lot of work with OCI logging analytics for OIC, for fleet management dashboards, all that sort of stuff. You can see check out my blog. You can see many posts about this subject. But the whole idea here is to have the ability, from your OCI console to say, activity stream logs go directly to logging analytics, not to logging analytics via OCI logging. Because with it, via OCI logging, we did have truncation issues. So this meant for many people, the option of uptaking logging analytics for OIC fleet management was a no-go, was a no-starter because of that. And we're also looking at one-click navigation between OCI logging analytics and OIC observability. So the idea here is within OCI logging analytics, I can do my fleet management, i.e., monitor and manage, monitor multiple OIC instances. And then with one click, I can go from that kind of high-level fleet view into the observability for a specific OIC instance. It's just kind of making the interoperability between those two services, available to you so that you can get really good value add out of that. We see here with 2506, okay, we've talked about all of these native actions and so on. Another thing we're looking at here is AI-driven integration documentation generation. Now, this is very interesting because we have talked about, what we have today, AI-driven integration description generation, project description generation. And as I mentioned, what you get there is a line of business style text that tells you what the project does or what the integration does. But what we're looking at going forward is more targeted AI-driven documentation generation for example, developers. Because developers hate documenting stuff. So let's document it. Let's generate that documentation so that if a developer has to take over a set of integrations and manage them through the life cycle, that he or she can really work efficiently with them. Or else generate, for example, documentation for an OIC administrator. So much more targeted, much more detailed documentation for the different stakeholders. And then going forward, and as I say, this is something we're looking into as well, is exposing OIC as an MCP server. So let's get into the demo. So the first demo I'm going to be doing here is the AI-driven integration generation. So let's get out of that and let's get in here. Sorry for the delay in this. I just need to get into this guy here now. Okay, so let's go in there. So here I am. I go into OIC, go into my projects. And I go in here and I go to this guy here. So let's get in here and I'll just say create an integration. And I'll say SFDC to NETSUITE OPI to sales order, something like that. Okay, opportunity to sales order. Now, when I create the integration, you will see now we can either just drop in the trigger as we normally would and start our work there, or you can see here, what's the purpose of this integration? So now I'll just go in and take a text here, which I should have here. Okay, there's nothing like preparing all of these things beforehand. I click on this and I do Control-V or Control-V as we used to say. And as you can see here, it says it's generating the integration flow. It'll come back now and it'll say, okay, flow has been generated. And then we can have a look at what's actually been generated here. As I've mentioned to you, what is generating is a skeleton. You will see all of the steps are there. Okay, you've got to go in and fill them with life, but the flow is there for you, as you can see here. So we see, okay, we asked, create an integration that takes one opportunities from Salesforce and pushes them to NetSuite as sales orders, and check as well, does the customer already exist in NetSuite? If it doesn't, get the account details from Salesforce and create that customer. And this is what has been generated for me here. Now, this is a huge value add, a best practice skeleton here that you can just go in and fill with life. Now, as I mentioned earlier, going forward, we'll be providing more functionality into what we actually generate here. So just think of this as the first iteration of this functionality. But I find it's a very exciting functionality that really does, help developer productivity. So we'll be very, very interested in hearing your feedback on such. Okay, so that's that simple demo here. I won't go back into the display mode because it takes so long, but I will for this one here, sorry. So we're looking at the native actions here. So as you can see, we have a variety of native actions here. Document understanding, OCI document understanding native action, that was, sorry, I've got to go back into the display setting. Yes, I remember. So that was released, I think, in 2504. These four guys here, generative AI, RAG, language, speech, and vision, they are new for 2406. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at this one here. So with the generative AI, it's going to be, I'll show it to you in a minute, but I'll just explain what the demo does. We're just going to ask a question. So this is kind of, like using AI as Google. But of course, that question could be a salient business question or whatever, and whatever. But it's something what we're used to doing today, by logging into ChatGPT and asking it a question and so on. So within Gen AI, we can do that. And as you say, with Gen AI, you've access to two models. We've got Llama and we've got Cohere. And of course, if you choose Llama, then you will see all of the actual models available there. And you just pick whatever one you want. And then, of course, you map to what you see here. For example, the chat request, you put in your message there and so on. And of course, you can set all of the tweaky knobs there that you can, like max tokens, frequency penalty, presence penalty, etc. Now, here's an example of a question that I ask here. So, should I approve an expense request dated the 13th of June, 2025 for a ribeye steak and beer costing €250? So you can imagine this is like a business application here. I've got receipts from my employees and they're being processed, and this guy turns up with a receipt for steak and beer for €250 on June the 13th. Now, of course, when I push that to Gen AI as is, it's going to respond. So, I'm unable to make that financial decision on your behalf, because it depends on the company's policies and procedures, of course. So that's the first thing that we're looking at here. So that leads into OCI Gen AI agents. So I just want to introduce this topic before we actually discuss how OIC can interact with such. So you can create a OCI Gen AI agents in OCI. And I've created an agent here called the expenses agent, So you can see the different tools that we have available here. We've got RAG, we've got SQL, and we've got a custom tool where you could invoke functions and get data that way or whatever. So agents via tool provide relevant data to the LLM. So in this case, it would be the corporate expenses rules. So that's the sort of thing that we would want to send to the LLM along with the question shown on the previous slide here. So in my example, I have the following. I have the expenses rules. So you can see my expenses rules are very simple. Is no meals over 100 euros, no alcohol, no sugary drinks, and on and on. And also Friday, no meat, only fish. Okay, so that's just my expenses rules. Those guys are an object. That text is an object storage. It's ingested into an agent knowledge base via a data source. And that data source just points to the object and pulls it in. So we can very, very simply pull in those corporate expense documents into our knowledge base. So this agent has something tangible to work with. The next stage is, of course, you have an endpoint for this. So this endpoint, of course, is very important because this is what will be receiving their requests at runtime. And then, of course, you can actually go in and chat with this at OCI Gen AI agents level. You can launch chat to test. And you can see here, it tells me, the total value of the meal is 250. That exceeds the maximum of 100 euros. And it also tells me that June the 13th is a Friday. And Rule 7 says you can only eat meat on a Friday. And ribeye steak doesn't meet this criteria. So I can't approve that expense. So that's just a very, very simple example of leveraging a Gen AI agent, setting up and leveraging a Gen AI agent. If you need more information, just go to my blog. I have a detailed blog post that goes through setting this up step by step. So within OCI, or say within OIC, we have this new OCI Generative AI Agents RAG. And there are 3 steps that you actually use in this respect. One is to list the endpoint. The second is to create a session, and the third is to chat. So in this case, the third stage, which is chat, this would be where you actually kind of ask, you explain your expense. It's a meal of 250 euros for steak and beer on June 13th. Okay, within OCI native OCI language, what can we do with this? So things like language detection, key phrase extraction, and PII, personally identifiable information. So we can see, does the text contain personally identifiable information such as credit card number, such as, say, social security number, etc. And we can also request that that information be masked. So it's not just a case of detecting PII, it's also the ability to mask those fields. You can also see we have sentiment analysis there. So I can analyze an email and see, is this positive or negative? Is the customer happy with the way his order was processed, or is the customer unhappy? Text translation is something we can do as well there, and so on. With the next one here with vision, you can see things like text detection, face detection, object detection, and image classification. All of these things can be done in there. And within speech, what we can do is, of course, this is creating a transcription job. You're pushing, your input is an audio file. You're creating text from that. So you can create a transcription job, list transcription jobs, delete transcription jobs, etc., etc. Okay, so let's have a look at some of those. So I go back in here. Let's see, clicking on this. Okay, so let me discard this guy here. First one we're going to look at is the OpenAI adapter. So let's go into the OpenAI adapter here. So let me shoot the first guy. Now there's two options here. That's the OpenAI. You will see the first one here. We'll just check in here. You will see that this here is using a simple prompt. So we've got two request types here. We've got simple and we've got extended prompts. And I just created a blog post today that actually goes through that, showing them. But we'll just go in and try this out here. So let's go in here to the prompt here. And let's go into that. Sorry, excuse me. So OpenAI demo. Let's run this guy here. And you will see here's the body. And I say it's not who was cattle brewer. So I want to say, should I expose an extent control C? So I go in here and I say control V. And I run it. So ChatGPT is going to come back and tell me, that's a nice question you're asking me, but I can't tell you because I don't have any salient information about your expense policies. So this is just showing you, this is the simple one here. You say, based on the information this prices you've provided, approving this expense depends on several key factors. Here are the main considerations, blah, blah, blah. So let's look at the next level of this here, which would be this guy here. This is the extended one. And you will see in the extended one here, first of all, the input that we're going to receive here is going to be a JSON payload as well as a document. And in this case here, this document is going to be our corporate expenses. And if you look down here, you will see here when we are mapping the expense, you will see that we have the ability here to add, let's just go back here, different inputs. So the first input here would be the actual question. Can you approve this expense for me? The second input here would be the corporate expense guidelines. So of course, based on this decision or this question can be answered. So let's go back in here. Let's have a quick look at this. I see we have questions. We'll get onto them later. Let me go in here. So where was that? It was EXT, this guy here. And let's go in and run this guy. So when I'm running this guy here, you will see here, I've got to choose a file. So let's go in here and let's choose a file. Let's go here, say AAA. And I have here my file, which would be my expenses. There's my expenses rules. Okay. And then, of course, the text that we're going to be putting in here is this guy here, receipt date, etc., and all of the details of what we're actually expensing there. We do Control V and we do run. So this guy takes a little bit longer, thinks about it. Now it has the expenses rules, our corporate expense documentation, and we'll see here what has been generated. So I'll just show you in here. So within here, I can go in here, check expense, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the response there. But this is always happens. This is often happens when you do things live. Anyway, it should come back in here if I had, oh, it's in sorry, excuse me. Because I set that to production. Now, this is one of the things, yes, that you shouldn't be doing when you're demoing these things and you want to show the activity stream. What I need to do is I need to go in here and I can say configure activation. And within configure activation, I can set that to, because then I will get all of these messages that I require. So now I can go back in here and run that guy again. I apologize profusely for the delay there, but you've seen an extra bit of functionality that OYC has to offer. So let's choose the file again. Let's get in here and get that expenses. Here we go. Expenses, yes. And let's go in here. We should have Control V. I should have that in there, and I do run. This guy runs. Now, the only thing that you need, of course, for this is an OpenAI developer account, which is something that you can get at cost. Yeah, you have to invest a little bit of money in there, but you then have everything you need there. So let's go in here and we can see here, message processed by that guy. And let's see what was the message processed. And you can see here completed. And we can see here, let's check the rules one by one based on the script details here. No sugary things. This breaks the rule. This breaks the rule. So it goes in and defines all of these things. Yeah. And you had meat and not fish. This breaks the rule. Now, one of the nice things about this as well, about AI engines, is that you can then set system prompts as well. In other words, telling the system or the assistant how they should act. And I have another example of this API or of this adapter here, which is this guy here, where I say to the LLM, it should answer in a business-like but brusque manner. So brusque means, for those not too familiar, means just really just giving them the facts and that's it. So let's look, and you can see here, I'm saying here, system prompt, answer in a business-like but brusque manner. So I can take that, Control C, go back in here, and I do this, and I do Control V. Okay, and I run that guy there. So here we will see again. Let's see what the answer is like here. I hope this has been run in debug mode. It has. So we will see here. It'll be a bit more terse, so to speak. Yeah. There we go. Here we go. And here it is here. Yeah. Your meal cannot be expensed. The total is over 100, contains alcohol, and includes meat. Yeah. All three categories are violated. Yeah. And that is the assistant telling me that. Okay. So very, very simple stuff there. Very, very easy to use within OYC there. Now, if we look up to our OCI services here, which I'm just looking into now, you will see here, for example, we have AI services demo. Okay, so this is just using Gen AI. So Gen AI, as I say, you can have the Cohere or you can have the Llama LLMs. And then, for example, here, I'm just asking a question, who was Cathal Brugha? Now, of course, it'll come back and tell me who that person was. or it comes back and it says resource not found, which is very good for a demo. And maybe I shouldn't have, there's something I've done wrong there. So let me go to one of the other demos. Apologize for that. Let's go into the language demo here. So just try this guy, run. So in the language demo, we're saying translate, I can't go on, I must go on from English. And of course, we want the target language to be German. So let's run this guy. And you can see here, ich kann nicht weitergehen, ich muss weitermachen. Okay, very, very good. So you can well imagine the power of these things here. Like this is just simply dragging and dropping these OCR or these native actions into, I'll just show you again here, into your integration. And then, oh, sorry, I shouldn't be doing not that guy. Let me go into one of these guys here. Let me get into that guy, edit. Okay, unlock it first and then edit. Unlock. And then unlock. And then edit. Just dragging and dropping these guys into your integration flow here. Like for example, for vision, you just drag and drop it in here. There you go. And you can say OCI, and then you've got OCI vision, for example. And then you say check for motorbike, for MOTO or BIU, check for motorbike. And then you can just specify here, of course, your compartment, the task that you want to do, image classification, object detection. For example, maybe in an insurance claim, yeah, you know, the pictures or images of the damaged vehicle have to be uploaded. They could be checked here, object detection, to make sure they are actually images of the customer's car or motorbike or whatever. So all of these things are available to you there. So it's just making that all so easy to do. Now we can go in, and final thing that I want to show you, because I want to give Ravi enough time to actually go through the GitHub one, is I'm going to show you a short video of the user-friendly error messages. So this is a very simple example here. So let's hope this video starts. Let's see, do I have enough resources? Let me check. Why is that not starting?
Neil, we can save it for the next webcast.
Okay, so, but just one of the things, folks, is just very, very slowly. You can see them all here on my blog at neilc.blogs.blogspot.com. All of these guys are listed here. And I just want to show you the difference between the error messages. And I just see maybe it should work from here.
Neil, we can see the video, but we can't hear you.
Okay, so what we're doing here is I'm just showing you here. You can see here that I'm starting an integration here that's going to insert an order into a database. Now this database, the TNS listener has been stopped. And of course, what happens here is I get back a fault. And as you can see here, if we look at the error message here, it is not that it's cryptic, but it is maybe for some folks who are new to OIC, yes, it could not create / access to top link session. So you see an SQL exception here. So we know it's something to do with the database. Yeah. And for those folks who have, who have worked with OIC for a long time, they've a very good idea of where to look. But maybe for some other folks who are not that astute or not that much experienced, they can actually just go in here. You can click on the, you see here the activity stream and so on. And within the activity stream, of course, you're going to see the technical error. Again, there's the technical error. And if we go back here, you can actually now click on the here. the details, and here you'll see an AI-driven user-friendly error. So now we can see the data connection due to network adapter issue. So this is much, much easier. I can go and I can check at my database level and I see the TNS listener has stopped. I can start that listener again and then resubmit those integrations. Okay, so I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to cover all of the demos that I was looking to cover. But as I say, if you go to my blog, you will see all of them here and exactly step for step how you actually use all of those features I have described here. So Jürgen, with that, I'm going to pass on to Ravi. Ravi, are you okay to go?
Yes, Neil, I'm all good to go.
Thank you very much. And I'll just stop sharing. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So it's been quite quite an interesting discussion on the Q&A. I see quite a lot of questions on AI, etc. Neil, have you stopped sharing?
Yes, I've stopped sharing. I can see your screen. No, yeah. I've stopped sharing, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. There, I'm sorry. I've stopped sharing now. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. And I hope my screen is visible now.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I want to talk about this new feature that we've added, which is about pushing your OIC project to GitHub. And part of that, what we have done is we've created this new item within settings, which is the repository setting. And currently we support only GitHub. So what I've done here is I have my username, GitHub username. I have mentioned a repository. This repository can be public or private. In my case, it is private. And then the branch name and the token ID. So token ID, if I go to GitHub here and go to settings and then developer settings. So you need to use the personal access tokens. Now, I find the fine-grained too much of information to be entered. So I just use the classic token. You can just go ahead and generate new token. So I'm not going to go into that because I already have a token. Remember that that token will be shown to you only once. So copy it before it disappears, right? Now, once you have done that, you can come back to OIC, and I'll just keep this particular repo open. So this is the repo. I already have the main branch, and I go here. I can test it here. So when I test this, this should tell me that repository connection has been established. Now, what I'll do is I'll go to projects and I pick up one of the projects that I'm working on. So let's say this particular project, and I want to push this into GitHub. So the way I do that is I click on export project. And when you export project, you would have only seen this option. Now we have a new option called export to repository. And when you click on export to repository, it'll show you export as. So you can also export extractors and recipes, but we'll focus on the developed projects. You need to create at least one project deployment, for this export. So I already have one here. Sure, you know how to create a deployment by going to deploy tab. And when I click on export over here, what's going to do is it's going to push this to GitHub with the to the repo that I have created on the branch that I mentioned. So if I go back here now and I do a reload, you will see that there is a new folder here created, which is called deployments. So I can go into deployments, and you see that the binary .car, which is the representative of the project, has now been pushed to GitHub. Now you can continue doing this. So for example, if I make some changes here, so let's unlock this, or let's just create something here like a lookup. Oops, sorry. I don't want to make changes here. Let's go back. I'll discard. So let's say, I create a new connection. Okay. And I say trigger, and I'll only have a trigger connection create. And I'll say, save test. Okay. And if I go back here, it should show it to me, right? So the new one configured, and now I can do this export again. So by the way, at this point in time, this export is more from the perspective of keeping a copy of your project in a separate place, in a different place. Um, and it's not necessarily from the perspective of the version control that you would typically use in your, in your projects, CI/CD, etc. That bit is still being thought about, so we will come back on that. But as of now, if you see here, you will see that there is the second check-in. So this was the first check-in 2 minutes back, and this is the new check-in that has been done right now. And you can go back to the code at any point in time. You can go back and export it and then import it into your instance. So assume that your project gets deleted by someone else advertently, inadvertently. You can go ahead and take the one that you want to go back to, export it, and then import it into your OIC instance. So this is just the first release of this particular feature. We will be adding, enhancements to this. So if you have any feedback, do test it out. If you have any feedback, feel free to, reach out on either Customer Connect or, email to me and provide me with the feedback so that we can enhance it further in the future. So that's it about the demo right now. Handing it over back to you, Jürgen.
Thank you very much, Ravi. Let me share my screen. Oops. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So Niall, thank you for the excellent demo. A lot of new features, amazing to think. From your expense report, what toppings can I put on the pizza, fish or meat today?
Oh, Fisher, anything, Jürgen, anything would be
It's not
gratefully
Friday.
accepted. Yeah, it's not a Friday.
Okay. So to summarize the call, please visit the resource page. There you find all the links. At our integration website, you find more product information. You can use a free trial to get started. And at the documentation page, you find the live labs, which are on-demand trainings for Oracle integration to build your proof concept. In the newsletter, we summarize everything, so please make sure that you subscribe. And there are plenty of blogs. Niall's blog is a highlight, so make sure that you visit the blog. There are plenty of questions, and I would like to read out of some of them for the benefit of everybody. So the first question comes from Todd, and he would like to know if his company is avoiding AI engines because they don't have a confidence in it. How can Oracle integration features being hosted, and what kind of data can it consume?
Okay. Now, Todd, I can understand that as well. But if you look at what the Gen AI agents, where we are augmenting the value of the LLM with your own data. My example was the expense reports, but this could be, you saw there was another option there for SQL-driven RAG, where you're just pulling data in from your own database tables, etc. So I think this is the combination that's a real, very, very interesting for folks. So it's not just the LLM, it's the LLM augmented with my enterprise data. And that's the sweet spot that we're looking at with the Gen AI agent. So if you want any more information, please feel free to contact me and I can go through your particular area or use cases with you. Thank you.
Are we going to support MCP?
Yes, that's what I said. That is our goal going forward. as I say, this is all under a safe harbor statement, but MCP is simply, for example, making it very easy to expose OIC integrations, for example, as tools. Of an integration that kind of creates a sales order for me, so I could have a sales order creation tool, and then that would run over MCP. So that's something we're heavily looking into at the moment.
And then the next AI question is, do we plan to have a tool to generate low-level design documentation?
Yes, that's the whole idea. Like the whole idea here is from an OIC, from a documentation generation perspective, is to have that targeted towards the stakeholder. So if the developer needs detailed design documentation, that's what we generate for the developer. Maybe for an administrator, they need different type of information. We'll generate that information, the salient information for that particular stakeholder.
Okay. A lot of new features are available within projects and Generation 3. Will they also come to Generation 2?
No. This is all OIC 3. Now, OIC Gen 2 is really a sunset. So we expect to have all of our customers off Gen 2 by the end of this calendar year.
And for Generation 3, do I need to use projects or?
Yes. You do need to use project. Now, if you want to use these features, yes. If you say, I just want to, kind of integrate A and B, you can still do that outside of projects. But if you want to make use of all of these compelling new components, they are all available within the context of a project.
Okay. And the question for Ravi that you answered, can we get a copy-paste action?
It's in the roadmap. It's in the roadmap, Jürgen. This is something that is requested quite a lot. So we are discussing this with engineering. So yes, it's in the roadmap is all I can say right now, and I have answered accordingly.
And I think it's very important, Jürgen, that all of you customers know that our features are very much driven by your requirements. So feel free to really contact us and say what's missing there. Feel free to contact us and say what's working and what you're very happy with, but also feel free to contact us and say, could you not provide us with this or with that? And of course, then these are the inputs to our roadmap.
Yeah, and it's wonderful to get all the questions that helps us to also prioritize the roadmap.
Yeah.
And please feel free in the survey at the end of the webcast, the survey pops up to write in the open field, in the open question field, your comments around the product, what you're missing. And there's a question in the survey for an RPA demo, and you can also write down in the open field if you were interested to participate in the GitHub beta program or in the AI beta program. So please make use of the survey. Ravi, any questions that you want to point out?
No, I think we covered, the major ones which were related to AI and related to, push to GitHub feature. So those were mostly, the questions that keep on coming up.
Niall, any important questions that you want to point out?
No, I'm just happy to see, how proactive and interested folks are in what we're doing here, especially in respect of AI. And I think what's very, very important is the concrete business application of AI, so that it does provide that concrete business value add. So check us out again in September with our next webcast and see what we've got to report by then. And if possible, folks, join us at I was going to say Open World. Join us at Cloud World in Las Vegas if you can make it there as well.
So big thanks to Ravi, Niall, and also Subani, who answered many of the questions. I think we have
yes, thank you very much, Subani. Yeah.
That's great. Make use of the resources. There you find all the links for customers and partners and also upcoming events. We are building out the event schedule as we speak, so more events will pop up next week and more trainings. If you have further questions, please contact our team. Niall is the contact for EMEA, Paolo Mota for South America, Ravi Chapani for the US, Ravi Pinto for India, Steve Tyndall for Asia, and myself. Feel free to question or to contact me regarding any partner and customer questions. Thank you very much for attending. It was again an amazing webcast. Thank you everybody for spending an hour with us, and we hope to see you on September 18th for the next webcast.
Thank you again, Jürgen, for organizing everything. Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dankeschön. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jürgen. Thanks, everyone.